This is a short presentation on the history of the Lee High School Rebel. It is intended to provide historical facts related to the naming of Lee High School, the inception of the Rebel nickname, and connections made over the years to the Civil War. This is from an 1894 plat map showing the Godfrey-Lee district, outlined in red, divided into three neighborhoods: Galewood, Urbandale, and Burlingame. The central part of the district is the area bounded by Hall Street, Burton Street, Burlingame Avenue, and Clyde Park Avenue. By 1907, the electric train from Grand Rapids to Holland cuts through the bottom half of that area. That year, the Burlingame property was purchased and platted into 400 lots, along with the adjoining streets. The plat included an access road that ran along both sides of the interurban railroad. This road at first was called State Street. Over time, some street names were changed to avoid duplication and confusion. State Street was renamed Wall Street in 1913, but 1 year later it was renamed once again, this time to Lee Street. It is unknown why the name Lee Street was selected. 8 years later, the community decided to build a second school. They chose a 5-acre piece of property along Lee Street, bordered by Havana, Engle, and Martindale. It was called the Lee Street Junior High School, commonly referred to as just Lee Street School. The school opened in 1923, and up through 1935 there was no mascot or nickname. In 1936, the journalism class started up the first student newspaper, and the very first mention of the Rebel nickname was printed in the final edition. That year was also the first time the Echo yearbook included a theme. In the words of the students, the theme chosen was the Civil War, tying up the name of the school with General Robert E. Lee. This theme was carried out in the artwork, such as the first flag of the Confederacy imprinted on the title page, and as a divider sheet for each section of the book. The literature supported the theme, making references to General Lee, the Confederacy, or the new Rebel nickname. The first Rebel symbol appeared in the 1943 yearbook, and was, for lack of a better description, a Spartan helmeted warrior. By 1946, the figure could be seen on the front of the Echo, on track team uniforms, and on the arms of varsity sweaters. This is a full-color photo of the actual sew-on letter and Rebel figure. The 1947 Echo included a pennant with the Rebel emblem. By the early 1950s, the Rebel symbol was visible on other athletic uniforms and the right arm of cheerleader and letter sweaters. In September 1958, a student published an article in the Lehigh Ariel titled "Whistlin' Dixie." Although admitting that the school was not named after Robert E. Lee, he believed the name caused people to think of General Lee. He suggested there must be a connection, even though it never actually existed. He proposed that it might be time for a new fight song sung to the tune of Dixie and Confederate flags waving from students' cars. The next week, a flyer announced a pep rally and included a roughly drawn cross saber and rifle, topped by a Confederate battle cap. In December, the Ariel included a Rebel of the Week feature, continuing to use the original Spartan warrior artwork. The next edition mentioned that a Rebel theme committee had been formed, with a stated purpose to, quote, promote the idea of Lee Rebels in the connection with Robert E. Lee and the Civil War, unquote. It announced a student contest to write a school song to the tune of Dixie and the planned purchase of Rebel hats and flags. By March 1959, the varsity club had advanced the Rebel theme with small Confederate flags sold to attach to car radio antennas. In another article, it was reported the student council had decided that Lee should incorporate the real Rebel name with all the trimmings. A pennant was created with a picture of General Lee, cross-Civil War rifle and saber, Civil War cannon, and Rebels written across it. In December 1960, the Ariel announced that the Confederate flag was made official, providing details of an election where students had approved this action, along with the expenditure of student council money to purchase a large display flag. In January, an all-school assembly was held where students witnessed the dedication of the newly purchased Rebel flag. The flag was hung in the school gym. The Echo that year introduced a circular embossed seal with the Confederate battle flag at its center. Photos in the yearbook included the Confederate battle flag, as well as a fife and drum ensemble accompanying the rebel banner. The 61 Echo recalled the dedication assembly and pictured the hanging of the Confederate battle flag in the gym. The rebel symbol worn on uniforms and leather sweaters, however, continued to be the Spartan warrior. By 1962, the Confederate battle flag, or Stars and Bars as it's sometimes referred to, was on the back of marching band uniforms and a part of the dance team performance to the tune of Dixie. The next Echo cover included an embossed effigy of General Lee with the title Lee's Echo. The forward points out that in keeping with the rebel tradition, General Lee now takes his rightful place among the Confederate flags, rebel hats, rebel band uniforms, and Dixie as head of our school. Inside, despite reference to Confederate forces and featuring the Stars and Bars, both photos show that the Spartan warrior is still worn as the rebel insignia. That year, the band produced a record album, describing on the back of the jacket the Confederate symbolism of the band uniform. The cover of the 64 Echo contained an embossed symbol of the U.S. and Confederate flags. The introduction is a photo of the U.S. and Confederate banners being hoisted on the school's flagpole. The 65 Echo shows that the cheerleader sweaters now sport the Confederate flag. But if you look closely at the varsity letter sweaters in this photo, you'll see that most continue to have the old Spartan warrior symbol on the right arm, while a few others replaced it with the Confederate flag. But by the next year, the old Spartan warrior that symbolized the rebel since the 1940s had been virtually replaced on all varsity sweaters and also appeared on some varsity jackets. That same year, a student painted a full-size Confederate soldier and battle flag, which hung on the southwest gym wall. The work became known as Johnny Rebel. The 1969 Echo shows Confederate flags adorning the majorette's batons, the wall of the gym, and an unidentified pier at Lake Michigan. However, the class of 1970 rings pictured in that same yearbook still sported the old Spartan warrior rebel symbol. The 1976 yearbook featured several photos of Johnny Rebel. But the following year, Johnny Rebel was replaced by something that appears more like Elvis Presley brandishing a Confederate battle flag. Other Confederate symbols adorn the yearbook, as well as the wall of the band room. By the 80s, the rebel character went live, and the Confederate flag had been painted on the south wall of the concession stand at Lee Field, with several group photos taken in front of it. In the 86 yearbook, the student council gathered around a Confederate flag for its club photo. As this 92 photo shows, the Confederate flag was on display as a mural in the school's library. By the end of the 90s, photos and displays of the Confederate flag and other symbols had become rare until they disappeared altogether. The rebel mascot had evolved into a cartoonish character that was modified over the years. In the lower right photo, Elvis and his Confederate flag were gone, replaced by an original student-designed school flag, similar to this photo from the 2000 yearbook. One also hung for a number of years in the OAC. The arrival of the 21st century brought greater disconnect between the continuing rebel nickname and the Confederacy of the past. These yearbooks sported embossed versions of the rebel emblem still in use. This figure was originally painted on the wall of the gym lobby, and that artwork remains there today. In 2006, the school board engaged a former Lee student artist to paint a mural on the north end of the gym. The work depicts a uniformed figure busting through the wall, replicating breaking down barriers to success. This life-size costumed Rebbe, as it's called, appears occasionally at assemblies and other events. But since 2010, students and staff have adopted a modern rebel code, more connected to their futures than some distant past. This code is visible in the building and has been celebrated in assemblies, helping to instill pride in what each and every student is and can become, regardless of the obstacles he or she faces each day.